Welcome. I'm Mark Peterson, founder of the Wyoming Family Caregiving Foundation. I'm very pleased to be with you today as we begin our series we call Family Caregiving 101. In our series, we'll have 8 modules to orient you to family caregiving and how to become a more effective family caregiver for your loved one. The first module here is our welcome. We'll also have the next 3 modules, which will focus on what researchers identify as the tasks that family caregivers actually do. Family caregivers assemble. They organize things, many times with other family members for the betterment of their loved one. Family caregivers also perform. Many times these are nursing activities done with your loved one and assisting them in activities of daily living, such as dressing, eating, bathing, toileting, continence issues, and also transitioning from beds to wheelchairs and other places in the home. The last category of activities family caregivers do is brokering. This means interacting with those beyond one's network of family and friends to obtain products or services to benefit the family caregiver's loved one, such as medical doctors, nurses, hospital and clinic staff members, insurance companies, pharmacies, in-home healthcare professionals, and transportation services, to name a few. Negotiating and troubleshooting with these actors will likely need to be done by the family caregiver. Importantly, family caregivers can learn from these actors. The imperative for learning became an essential part of every day for our family caregiving activities. We focus on relationships in Module 5, and our interest is that your relationships with everyone involved in your loved one's battle will improve over the course of that battle. There are also times of heavy lifting you might encounter, challenges in caring for your loved one. We'll talk about those in Module 7. And finally, in Module 8, the end but the beginning is Module 8. We look forward to being with you in these 8 modules that comprise Family Caregiving 101. Now, my story here in family caregiving begins with my late wife Cindy and her cancer battle. She was a healthy, fit, early 60s person who was a recreational tennis player and was living a good life with me here in Laramie, Wyoming. But she began having headaches one spring, and then a visit to an eye doctor resulted in an MRI that disclosed that she had 2 brain tumors. She was then taken to Medical Center of the Rockies, where she had brain surgery a few days later, and was then returned to Poudre Valley Hospital in Fort Collins for 3 weeks of rehabilitation there. Then there was radiation therapy for Cindy during that summer, 6 weeks of this, a short time each day at radiation therapy at UC Health's Cancer Center, and then finally a program of chemotherapy that began in the fall of that year. Our story for the Peterson family focuses on May 28, 2019. In the lore of our family, that is the day that we refer to as Pearl Harbor Day. A precipitous event, the diagnosis of Cindy's brain tumors, occurred that day, and then there was a time of stabilization, as tends to happen with patients who are battling serious disease. But then for those facing chronic illnesses such as cancer, heart disease, stroke, respiratory disease, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, ALS, there can be recurrences and a decline. So during this time of less effectiveness for the medical establishment in the life of a loved one, the role of the family caregiver becomes more important for delivering and sustaining quality of life for your loved one. And so it looks something like this during this time of decline. But also for the caregiver, there's an inverse relationship. So as the medical treatments become less effective, the importance of the caregivers in the life of their loved one becomes more important, and the effort required to deliver those services goes up accordingly. So during this time, you would probably receive a medal for your work in caregiving for your loved one. And at the end of my wife's cancer battle, about a year later, intending to reclaim the garage space I needed, I made delivery of these items to our local hospice of Laramie. Hospice gave me a receipt for $6,250 for that donation. You can see we had multiple wheelchairs. There's a Hoyer lift in the background, a portable toilet. There's also a power lift chair, disc that we used to turn my wife so she would be moved in and out of wheelchairs and onto the bed for whatever chair she was moving into. That was all done in a more easy fashion. Now, as we look at the actors that came into play in my late wife's cancer battle, you see the baseline here runs from May 2019 through June 2021. Over in the bottom left a trip to the eye doctor resulted in brain surgery at Medical Center of the Rockies. And then a host of other actors came into scene, such as Walgreens Pharmacy and others here on the left side. That was the initial battle that had begun. Over time, other actors came into play, but the central battleground for Cindy was our home. So with most patients, the main battleground for them and their chronic illness will be the home. And so as we go over to the right side, you can see that my daughter Rachel and her husband James moved to Laramie from Colorado Springs in January of 2021, and they assisted in a tremendous way with Cindy's care for the rest of her life the next 5 months. Fire and rescue transported Cindy to the hospital multiple times during this period. Also, we were never told how much time she had, so we thought this was an indefinite engagement, and we were getting better and better at caring for Cindy over that time. Finally, on the right side, you see funeral services and memorials for Cindy that came into play in the summer of 2021. Now, Cindy manifested a poise and composure throughout her cancer battle, and that represented what we call a cowgirl up attitude. Here in Laramie, Wyoming, the athletic teams are the Cowboys and the Cowgirls. Cindy had a relationship with the Cowgirl tennis team. This team was very encouraging to her during her cancer battle, and this idea of mental toughness that inspires others is a focus of the Cowgirl tennis team and what they're trying to bring out in the best characteristics of their athletes when they play. Cindy manifested this, and that was something that her family caregivers witnessed. We were amazed by this over the months of her cancer battle. So she was an agentic person, a good patient, and someone who was focused but had this next point attitude. It's not just what had happened that matters, it's what's coming up that's the most important thing. Now, for me in the early going here for Cindy's cancer battle, I encountered a decision. Should I stay in my career or should I disengage? Go to part-time or reorient and pursue some other type of work or even become a full-time caregiver? That was thoughtfully done with the assistance of my daughters, particularly older daughter Emily. One of the options was to initiate a consulting career that would allow more flexibility for me. I went to a conference in Cheyenne during this time of consideration, and it was during that time I met the Wyoming governor, Mark Gordon. So this reminds me that you will likely meet many helpful and encouraging persons in your family caregiving journey as it unfolds. I decided to stay. I kept my job. But this was a decision that families and family caregivers need to come to terms with and will likely revisit. It may change during the course of your loved one's battle with their chronic illness, but it is an important one and should be thoughtfully done. Earning a paycheck avoids many problems as you serve as a family caregiver. I decided to lead the home team with my daughters and their husbands, James and Brock. Our home team became able to love Cindy in a very meaningful way during her cancer battle in ways we hadn't envisioned before, and this brought a dimension to our relationships that proved to be very rewarding, and in retrospect, maybe the most important things we've done in our lives to date. Please continue with us as we continue our Family Caregiving 101 series. You can reach Wyoming Family Caregiving Foundation at wyofamilycaregiving.com. That's www.wyofamilycaregiving.com. And there's plenty of resources there to encourage you, to orient you on your family caregiving trek. And we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming episodes of Family Caregiving 101. Thank you.